In this video, I want to focus in on what I think are the common doubts that people have about going to therapy. Those little ideas that pop into our heads and hold us back from finally taking action. Doubt number one, maybe my problems aren't that bad. If you've been thinking for a while now that going to therapy might be a good idea, but you have a tendency to think that other people have it much worse than you do, and maybe your situation isn't bad enough to justify the time, effort, and money that it takes to start, then consider this. There will always be someone that has it worse than you do. There will always be someone that was born with less than what you have, that struggles more than you do, and that pulls themselves out of darker places than where you're at right now. After all, you're one of almost 8 billion people on this planet, and if you're like me, you were born in one of the most affluent countries in the world. But look, I know it can be really hard, but try to let go of that comparison game with other people and simply recognize that whether or not you could have it worse is beside the point. Therapy is for you because your pain, your trauma, your wellness, and your journey, it all matters. Therapy is just as valid for you as it is for anybody else, because ultimately, a mentally stronger and healthier version of you is better for everyone. We all benefit from each of us becoming the best and healthiest versions of ourselves. So whether going to therapy for you is about seeking help for serious issues with depression, anxiety, or trauma, or it's simply about general wellness, exploring smaller issues that nevertheless cause you some trouble, or just going from good to great, just remember that it all matters. Give it a try for a few months. If you don't need it, you can always stop. Doubt number two, I should be able to handle this on my own. First of all, no one does anything alone. I know specifically in places like the US, we like to think that we all just, as they say, pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. And yeah, it's great to have a sense of self-empowerment, but that mentality is also limited. No one truly does anything completely by themselves. So let's just start this next part with that in mind. Now, as someone who looks up just about everything on YouTube and sees those mental health pages pop up on their Instagram feed, I'm with you if you feel like maybe therapy and mental health is just something you can work on independently. And while I have my favorite channels and pages for that type of content, I've got to say that finding a good therapist and having that real human-to-human personalized attention is a game changer. It complements all that independent work that you're doing on your own already. And it provides a kind of weekly or monthly ritual that's dedicated purely to your wellness. It also gets you out of the house, which for someone dealing with depression or anxiety can actually be a lot harder than it sounds. And perhaps most importantly, it connects you to someone that listens to all of the details of your personal story and then reflects back and asks specific questions to encourage you to explore your experiences from a different perspective. That's just simply not something you can do on your own through YouTube or Instagram. Sure, not every therapist is going to be a good fit for you, but the search is definitely worth it. Doubt number three, I can just talk things out with my friends. Okay, so maybe you heard that last part and you're thinking, fine, I can't do this on my own, but I'll just reach out to some of my friends. Even for me, someone that is typically more introverted, I was thinking to myself that maybe I just need to open up more with the people around me. And yes, connecting with and opening up to your closest and most trusted friends is indeed very healthy. But we should also recognize that it's different when the person you're opening up to is someone neutral and professional, someone that's not already your friend. One big difference for me was that I usually get very self-conscious about how much of the conversation I'm taking up. And so that limits the extent to which I can really dive deep into talking about myself before feeling the need to flip the conversation back to the other person. And sure, a good friend should be willing to focus on you when you need it, but I wanted frequent and consistent help. And I just wouldn't want to put that responsibility continuously on one of my friends. Having a therapist solves that problem because you know that they are there just for you. But not only that, they're professionals. They've studied and worked in a clinical setting in order to get their license in the first place. When they offer suggestions or pose new questions, they're not just doing it from their own personal biases, the way that a friend naturally would. They're able to pull from actual data, clinical studies, and experiences with a variety of patients. Their feedback comes from years of dedication to understanding mental health, and that makes a big difference. Doubt number 4, I don't know where to start. Like so many other things in life, finding a good therapist when you need one is just not something that's typically taught to us in school or even at home. Because of that, it can feel a bit overwhelming to think about starting that whole process by yourself. Where do you go? Who do you talk to? How do you find a good one? How much will it cost? What about insurance? Yes, it's a lot. But just as with any big and new endeavor, we've got to start by taking some baby steps. Hop online and just type those exact questions into Google. There will be a lot of information to sift through, but little by little, you'll start picking up tips and explanations from different sources, and you'll start piecing things together. For me, I was fortunate enough to talk to my older sister about it, and she pointed me towards this website called psychologytoday.com. It turns out that it's one of the most popular websites for finding mental health professionals. It basically lets you set a bunch of filters, such as where you're located, what kind of issues you need help with, and the gender, ethnicity, or age of each therapist. It's a great way to start getting a feel for what you want and what feels right for you. When I was looking for myself, the first question that I had was whether I wanted a man, a woman, or whether or not that should even matter to me at all. Ultimately, I decided to narrow my search down to men because on average, it seemed to me that it's the women in my life that tend to be more attentive, more empathetic, and understanding. And it's the men that mostly seem to be more repressed. And so I thought that maybe it would be impactful for me to see those positive traits in a man for a change, and to practice being open and vulnerable in front of a man, something that I think a lot of men have a hard time doing. I used a couple of other filters to continue narrowing down my search. I opened a bunch of tabs in my web browser for the various therapists that seemed intriguing to me, and I checked out their individual websites and read their bios. Just about everyone offers a free 30-minute consultation via Zoom so that you can kind of talk to them and see if they'll be a good fit. And so I did that before ultimately choosing one to work with. In conclusion, look, if you've been thinking about going to therapy but you've been hesitating because of these doubts that pop up, you're not alone. Mental health is something that we're starting to be more open about, but it's still something that many people don't take seriously. My recommendation is to start becoming more aware of the conversations that are taking place in our own minds. And if they continue to point you in the direction of seeking help and making a change, then give it a shot. If they keep bringing up these doubts, question them and where those doubts are really coming from. Chances are it's mostly the fear of the unknown. In the end, you really don't have anything to lose and just about everything to gain. As a wise person once said, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always. And that includes you. Be kind to yourself and get yourself the help that you deserve. We'll all be better for it.